What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I'm going to be bringing you an update to one of my favourite decks around, coming from the original era, and that is going to be Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now I've actually kept this build relatively budget. Now what I mean by that one is it doesn't involve Dominus Purge, which is a nice upgrade if you have it. It also doesn't involve Harmonis Fedrolia, which again is another nice upgrade if you have it. So what I've tried to do with this deck is I've still kept it really synchro focused. There is a little bit of a spicy tech inside the main deck, which may or may not survive the next Forbidden Unlimited list. Hopefully at the very least it gets hit to 1 and you can still play this deck, so I wouldn't rush out and grab them just yet. But it's at a relatively cheap price, it's still worth grabbing, and we use it in all of its best parts and none of its degenerate parts as well. And that'll make so much more sense a little bit later on. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Starting off with the legendary Blue Eyes White Dragon itself. So we're going to be playing 2 copies of this one, and I personally like to play the one Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. You don't have to play Jet Dragon, it's just a preference. I like it as an option. I do feel that it gives you a couple of bits of different dynamics and different routes of play should you need them. If you don't want to play it, by all means, cut it out completely. Then we do play 3 Sage with Eyes of Blue. Now, this one is actually going to come up quite a lot, because this card specifically, when it is normal summon, lets you add a level 1 light tuner from the deck to the hand. Now, in normal scenarios, the first search you're going to want to get is going to be your Maiden of White, which we're going to max out at 3 copies. Other options that it could get you access to will be Effect Veiler, and then the very, very spicy tech of the form of the Cool Tune Rotary. Now, I'm not saying that this is an original spicy tech, but this is just a kind of card that can work really, really nicely. For those of you that have played Blue Eyes, and for those of you that have faced Blue Eyes, you know that stopping them getting their additional normal summon can be massive, especially if they're on the Primite package, which this build is. So if they start off with normal summon Ether Barrel and they link into the link 1 and you go, stop, negate, don't let it go any further, usually they're in a bit of a bind. But with Cool Tune Rotary, you're not actually in that big of a bind. So if you're not familiar with Cool Tune Rotary because it hasn't been on your radar, this card, if it is on the field, would be used as synchro material. 1 tuner in your hand could be used as material for it. Now, obviously, you're not going to be doing that because you're not going to be playing any synchro monsters that require 2 tuners specifically. However, what you can do, which is going to be the most relevant effect of this card, is once per turn you can reveal this card and 1 tuner in your hand. Any tuner, it can even be an Ash Blossom. Immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon 1 tuner. If this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you get to activate one of the following effects. Now, you can look at your opponent's hand and then search out a Cool Tune spell or trap, but we're not playing any spells and traps. The one that you can do is place 1 card from your opponent's graveyard to the bottom of the deck, which can actually be really, really cool in the grind game because you're able to get rid of their resources that they have in the graveyard that they want to try and utilize. So don't write off the secondary effect of Cool Tune Rotary in that scenario. But what makes it very, very nice is the ability to reveal this and then a Sage of Eyes of Blue, and you get your Sage of Eyes of Blue as an additional normal summon at the start of your turn. Meaning that even if they stop that and they think, oh, they don't have Ether Barrel, you go, okay, cool, normal summon down Ether Barrel, and off you go, you're cooking, you've still got the plays you need to make. It could also open up the door for some synchro level 5 plays if you wanted to. Yes, if you wanted to go extra degenerate, a normal summon of the Ether Barrel, plus the reveal of a Cool Tune Rotary or anything like that, could synchro into a synchro level 5 Armades, and that Armades could go into Requiem, and that Requiem can go into Lacrima, and Lacrima can send Engraver, and before you know it, you've got a Fiendsmith Enfield with your Blue Eyes Enfield. I've decided not to go down that route, but that is a route that you could consider. Carrying on, I do play the one Neo Kaiser Seahorse. This is just a really cool option in order to make your level 12 synchros a little bit more consistent, because what you want to try and do is sometimes hard synchro into the Crimson Dragon, even though you can tag out with your Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, which you will be able to utilize a lot more because of Cool Tune Rotary's effect. Then we do play the 1 Effect Veiler. Searchable, you can play more if you want to, but 1 is kind of just made this deck as a 40 card build and kind of adapt it from there. Then for the Primite cards, 3 Primite Dragon Ether Barrel. Now, in the Legendary Art 5 decks coming out later on this week, you can get access to Lordy Load, Roar, and Drill Beam pretty easily and cheaply. Beryl has had a reprint in the most recent Rarity Collection of Rarity Collection 5, and in that it came as a Super Rare, Collector's Rare, Ultimate Rare, Starlight Rare, everything par Quarter Century Rare, because that was its original print with the Ultra Rare. So you should be able to get up an Ether Barrel very, very easily, and you're going to be able to max out on this card. And again, this is the added benefit of Rotary, which would tempt me to play it at 3, but I'm kind of waiting for when the list drops, and this is something that I probably should have dropped a long, long time ago, so you would have had more time to play with it. But the idea is it kind of gives you that idea that you now no longer worry so much that Beryl gets stopped, that's it, you can't go anywhere, or barrel going into the Spirit Advisor with the Link 1 gets stopped, and then you're in trouble. Because that's where Rotary can come in and still save you, and still allow you to play, because Rotary gives you your normal summon, and as long as that normal summon can get into a dragon in one way or another, you can get rid of the dragon lock itself, so you're still in a good position. Carrying on with the Primite cards, free Lordy Load, pretty straightforward and simple on what that one does, and then the Primite Drill Beam. Moving back to the Blue Eyes cards, 3 Wishes for Eyes of Blue, backed up by the 1 Mausoleum, the 1 Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragon, 1 for 1. You play, technically you could use Effect Veiler, not that you want to, but technically you do. You've also got access to Maiden, you've got access to, again, Sage of Eyes of Blue, not that you want to, and then you also have access to Rotary. So basically your 1 for 1 is a discard, lead you into a level 1 tuner. The 1 Called by the Grave, and then we've got the 2 track cards in Majesty and True Light. And then for our non-engines, we've got Ash Blossoms, Fuwalos. I like playing the Magnamut and Druid Swarm. This is obviously like the budget search. If you're not combined by budget, you can go into a Fedrolis Harmonia. If you don't want to go to a Harmonia's level of budget, but you want to go a little bit of a step up, you can go for Purge. Purge would then replace these 2 cards in my opinion, because it's not worth that attribute clash. And then on top of that as well, you can also start to consider other type of cards that could be effective for you, depending on what your budget restrictions are. And then the final card we have is 3 Infinite Impermanences. Again, you can cut this down to 2 and then bump Effect Veiler up by 1 if you wanted to. You can consider, like I've already mentioned, Harmonia. Harmonia adapts the extra deck by 2 cards. You've got Fallen and Virtuous you can consider. You've got Forbidden Droplet you can consider. There's loads of variations for it if you want to. And all of those variations, bar the Purge and Harmonia, are not going to break the bank. So very cheap, easy upgrades for the deck, give you another nice fighting edge. But this is just the next stage in budget evolution, in my opinion, for the current deck of how Blue Eyes can be run. Moving on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, let's start with our Synchro Monsters, as that is probably one of the most important components of the deck. Now in this version, I am playing 3 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragons. You can afford to play 2 if you really, really wanted to, but what I liked about this is that I can get into these very, very consistently, and that Rotary gives you that extra layer. With Rotary, you could also consider Master with Eyes of Blue as another nice normal summon card, which could be quite useful for you. It gives you a couple of different things to kind of play around with and consider, but with the 3 spirits, this is just one of the ones that you want to tag the first one out. Sometimes you want to get into the Azure Eyes if you're not able to tag out both in order to protect from the end phase destruction effect of the Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. But I also like Azure Eyes, as not a lot of people actually respect it or even understand it sometimes. So it can actually be a surprising factor that catches your opponent off guard. Carrying off the back of that, we do also play the 1 Ancient Fairy Life Dragon. This just helped you push to that OTK capabilities. Then for our level 12s, we have the Crimson Dragon. And the one that you're very easily going to be able to go into off the back of your Blue Eyes will be your Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. And the other 12s that I choose to play is the 1 Cosmic Blazer and the 1 Stardust Surf Divine Dragon. You can play any level 12 dragons that you want to. It is entirely up to you. Gives you a bit more flexibility and a couple of different options. For the fusion monsters, we've got the 1 Tyrant Dragon and the 1 Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Then for the links, we do have the 1 Hieratic Seals of Heavenly Spheres, 1 SP Little Knight, because sometimes it can get you out of some binds. And then we finish it off with 2 Spirit with Eyes of Blue. So quite straightforward on the link monsters there. Again, depending on the route you want to approach, you can change that. If you were to go down the Harmonia route, I would take out the Hieratic Seals and the SP Little Knight. That would then mean that your only sacrifice you'd be doing if you activate Harmonia during your opponent's turn is you wouldn't be able to access the Spirit of Eyes of Blue. But like we said, we're trying to bypass the reliance on the Spirit of Eyes of Blue in order to utilize the Rotary instead, so that you could still play using Harmonia and everything else like that. So if you wanted to go down the Harmonia route, you're probably going to lean into the Cool Tune Rotary a little bit more than we currently are. So that's pretty much it for the standard build. Now, combo-wise, not a huge amount changes because it all comes down to what you search, what you open up with. But the idea is it just means that your barrel is more insulated as your normal summon, or just your normal summons in general are more insulated. Because if your opponent is going to interact with them, usually if it stops and doesn't get to resolve to net you that advantage, you kind of end there. But as soon as you can set up an additional normal summon with technically out having an additional normal summon because of Rotary's effect, it lets you push that one step further. So that's pretty much it for the entire profile. If you do have any questions at all, please put in the comments down below. Like I said, if you want to upgrade this deck, Harmonia, Purges, Droplets, Crowns if you want to, Fallen the Virtuous, all of those powerful cards that are currently circling the meta will take you up that additional step. But for now, just as a cheap option, like Cool Tune Rotary is like £5 to £7. This might change post-Forbidden Limited list depending on where it ends up. If it follows Noroi, it gets straight away. big sad. This deck doesn't die because you lose that rotary. Rotary is just this nice additional option. If it doesn't die and it goes to 1, you just pick up a single copy. You can still search it out as it is a level 1 light tuner. So yeah, you can just work your way off the back of that. That is it for the profile. Questions, comments down below, always happy to answer them. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.